Hello, I'm going to be presenting about why class sizes need to be smaller in the public educational system. This is a very valid argument teachers and students commonly face in their classrooms. Seriously considering the different aspects for why making class sizes smaller is important has led me to a claim. My claim is a claim of fact. I will argue having smaller class sizes in the public educational system because the teachers will feel less overwhelmed. Having smaller class sizes helps the students develop a greater work ethic, and teachers will be able to adapt to their students. I had to do some research for who my argument was being directed to. I asked the principal of Wasatch High School, who was in charge of assigning the number of students to a classroom. Principal Johnson answered my question with confidence. I was told it was a man named Nate Mitchell. He is part of the administration at the high school and works with the district on how many students each teacher gets. So, what exactly is the issue with class sizes, and why do I believe they should be cut down? Class sizes are too large, and it is impacting the way students learn and teachers teach. Students have a hard time learning and asking questions when there are a lot of students in the class. This affects the students' engagement behaviors, which includes the effort put forth and participation in the classroom. Some students are almost too scared to raise their hand because they think their question is dumb or a waste of time for the rest of the class. Other students may feel inadequate by their large class sizes when the teacher asks a question. These students know the answer to the question but do not want to say it in front of everyone in the class. They are worried about being embarrassed. With small class sizes, students feel more confident with the classroom. This will improve their learning ability and involvement for the rest of the class. So what about the teacher's side? So I'm going to ask if it is easier to grade 20 papers or 40 papers. Well, 20 papers seems pretty obvious. I mean, there is half the amount of work for the teacher, and it will take up half the amount of time as it would to grade 40 papers. Teachers all over the country struggle with feeling inadequate to teach because they have too many students. Good teachers want to do their best and make sure their students are successful. With more students to one teacher, there is less one-on-one time, less answered questions, and a lot more angry parents. Nicole Gonzalez says, quote, "With these large numbers, it has become increasingly more difficult to recognize students that may be struggling. It is almost like they are invisible," close quote. Because of large class sizes, teachers are becoming frustrated and even leaving the profession. College professors have an exception. They are able to have hundreds of students and not feel completely overwhelmed with their workload because they have a team of people who help grade. Having a reasonable number of students allows teachers to adapt to his or her students' needs. By being able to acquire how individual students learn, teachers can figure out the best way to teach the class as a whole. However, adapting to a large class becomes difficult. Large classes require teachers to spend time with more students. Because there are more students to spend time with, time is cut short, and students get less knowledge from their teacher than they should. If there were less students to tend to, teachers would, quote, "be able to give more individualized attention in the class," close quote. That was by Wood. The proficient way to learn a subject is to work one-on-one with a teacher. Now, having one teacher to each student will never happen in the public educational system. It is just not feasible. Most states have a policy for the classroom that caps the number of students and prevents them from becoming overcrowded. Some schools let a few students slip by that specific number, allowing their classrooms to become overcrowded. Classrooms that were supposed to have 25 students may slip 5 or 6 more in because they can. This becomes a serious problem, especially in art classes when there are a lot of students who sign up but very limited elbow room. Overcrowded classes can be filled with the number of students is over 25 to 40. So that's about what is considered a lot for the number of students to teacher. Zinth claims that the most impactful size class occurs when class size is reduced between 15 and 19 students. So about 15 to 19 students to one teacher is ideal. With this number, students are able to have more time to work with their teacher. With smaller class sizes, there would need to be a lot more teachers and classrooms. The counter to my argument is that this is very expensive. So if schools were to reduce class size, they would need to hire more teachers. Unfortunately, this is not simple, nor is it cheap. Hiring qualified teachers becomes very expensive very quickly for school districts and the state. It isn't easy to recruit more teachers, especially when they need to be adequate and qualified for the job. When looking at state cost wise, it is easy to see why schools all over the nation hesitate to hire more teachers. Matthew M. Chingus and Grover J. Whitehurst state that increasing the pupil to teacher ratio in the US by one student would save at least $12 billion per year in the teacher salary cost alone. Building new schools and hiring a new staff is atrocious. Three Danish scientists conducted research to prove that large class sizes are not a bad thing. They concluded that small classes are not necessary and are not worth the hassle. They argue that this is better to have a couple really good teachers than a lot of mediocre teachers. So their point was, would you rather have your child, or would you rather be a student in a small class with an average teacher versus a large class with a really good teacher? While cost, population growth, and learning types are valid arguments, smaller class sizes are very important to the students, the teachers, and even their parents. In the 1980s, the Tennessee State Department of Education conducted a study that lasted 4 years on over 7,000 students. These students started the study when they were in kindergarten. They were randomly assigned either to a smaller class, which would be between 13 and 17 students, or a regular size class, which would be 22 to 25 students. For 4 years, these students in the smaller class size and the regular class size were watched. They were given the same tests, the same materials to learn, and after 4 years, by the time they were in 3rd grade, their results were compared. The smaller class sizes, the students in the smaller classes had much higher scores. These students were then observed later in life to see if smaller class sizes had an effect on the way they learned. As it turns out, students who had been in smaller class sizes were 2.5% more likely to stay in school and not drop out. It actually costs more for a child to, or it actually costs more for a child to drop out than stay in school. These dropouts are less likely to support themselves and will need to be taken care of by the state. So Jane Zaharis claims, quote, "If money is the issue, as the people holding the purse strings always told, these results suggest that smaller class sizes pay off," close quote. A whole lot more, Even though having more teachers is expensive, it pays off a whole lot more than having a bunch of students drop out. Parents want the best for their children and are willing to pay the price. Having smaller class sizes gives students the opportunity to learn and become hardworking individuals. The attribute students learn from their teachers carries on with them throughout their lives. And that is why it is important for students to have the opportunity to learn with their teachers in a small classroom setting. So small classes bring the total educational equation from developing a strong foundation for a lifetime of continuous learning. In conclusion, while it is expensive to have more qualified teachers, having smaller class sizes is crucial to the way students learn. It is beneficial for teachers and the way they help their students. So these are my references. The end. Thank you so much for watching.